teams that didn't make the playoffs or did make the playoffs? Coach Vass?
That is a good question.
I'm sorry. Who was the surprising player for me in the NFL this year?
Yeah.
So the most surprising player for me has been Jason Verrett, who plays corner for the Niners. Coming out of TCU, another full disclosure, we've run TCU's defense a lot in the past, so I've paid very close attention to them, and I've got an affinity for them. Here's a guy who had all the tools, junior college prospect from Cali, goes to TCU, gets drafted, going to do big things, and he's been hurt. He's been hurt every year. A lot of it, is not his fault. And he finally overcame all that and had a damn good year, and hopefully will make a lot of money in his next contract if he can stay healthy. So that's my answer there. I thought a lot about this one actually because I had some friends on, kicking this question around on Twitter. So I'm glad you asked me a question I was prepared for.
So the old Horn Frog, right? TCU are the Horn Frogs?
Yeah, TCU Horn Frogs.
All right. So was he off one of those teams? So he's not a rookie then, but he was off of one of those really good defensive teams that they had here. I guess it was like the last 5 years they had a really good defensive team, I think it was, right?
Yeah, I think his last year with TCU was about 5-6 years ago. So he's barely played in the NFL because he's just not been able to stay healthy. I mean, it seems like he's a rookie in terms of how much he's played, but I'm also like, isn't that guy like 30 now? Because it's been so long since he's been out of college.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. What about you, Danny? Anybody you wanted to see go deep in the playoffs this year? I mean, the Browns are in there, but I know you're a recovering Browns fan, now Ravens fan. They're
really going to be recovering.
Yeah. No, I'm happy that they did expand the playoff format, 2-7. So, Ravens did get in there, or they would not have, in the past. But then
that's interesting.
If you look at the NFC, I mean, the Bears.
Yeah.
Bears aren't that bad, though.
They're horrible, Todd.
Look at the rest of the NFC. Who else in the NFC could?
But that doesn't make it any better.
Cardinals would have been interesting.
Cardinals did nothing but trash the whole last third of the season.
Well, they were a letdown. There's a good example. They were a bit of a letdown.
No, Murray's been terrible the last.
He's a little banged
third of the season.
up.
Well, see, the thing is, like, to me, like, as again, admittedly not being a huge football fan, but as being a baseball fan, the way I looked at the playoff setup this year in the NFL, and I'm like, you look at the NFC East, and that reminds me a lot of the AL Central in baseball, that every single year you see a team that wins their division in the AL Central that has a worse record than the team that is 2 teams behind trying to make the wild card.
Yeah.
And you see, like, if you look at the wild card and you're like, the fourth place team in the wild card that is 2 teams away from making the playoffs has got a better record than the team that wins the AL Central. And so when you look at the NFC East and you're like, we got a team that made the playoffs with losing record. I mean,
well, that's common in football because recently it was NFC West.
Yeah.
Was it Cardinals, Seattle, and all you guys were terrible one season. Rams.
But doesn't it make you look at some of the teams that had like winning record, really, that just missed the playoffs by a game, and you go, man, that whole division is just like
stacked.
They're just throwing a gimme to whoever gets number 1 seed there, basically, or whoever it ends up going up to play them.
I think so.
Dirk, could you imagine if a baseball team made the playoffs with 55 wins?
That would be crazy, right?
Or 60 wins. Has that ever happened?
No, I mean, no. No, I mean, when you look
I'd love to know the team that won the wild card with the least amount of wins.
Well, what's funny is the wild card team has won the World Series like 3 times in the wild card era, because typically the wild card team has a better record than the lowest ranking division winner.
Well, also baseball. It's a trendy thing like basketball. If you're hot, you're hot.
Sure,
baseball. Them guys are usually battling to get in wild card. They're used to tough games.
Home state.
Yeah.
Florida Marlins have won the World Series twice, and both times as a wild card.
Just getting in, too. What was the one they just got in against the Red Sox? The year that they wasn't it against the Red Sox? They had to beat the Red Sox, something magical just for them to win their last World Series. The Marlins did. I think no. I got Tampa Bay mixed up.
But keeping that in mind, that 2004 Red Sox team that broke the curse, that won the World Series, they were the wild card team. New York Yankees won the division that year.
Oh, that's how they.
And they had as a wild card, they beat the Yankees. We're down 0-3, came back, won 4 in a row, which had never been done in baseball before, end up winning the World Series.
Well, yeah, I know, but they had to beat Tampa out to get in the playoffs.
Yes.
And they were playing different places.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
And it just worked out that they still came up. It was that was a great team.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the baseball team with the least amount of wins is 82 wins, which is, I think it's 500 record. Yeah.
Yeah.
82 and
well, 81 is 500. So it's one game over 500 with it, which in 162 game season is not much.
Yeah, but there's a lot of trash teams in baseball.
500 baseball team has never made it.
Wow.
Yeah,
right.
There's a lot of trash teams in baseball, though. I mean, baseball, you got a couple good teams in each division.
Yeah.
For the most part, and then the bottom three are usually just there to donate.
True. Yeah.
So yeah, it's
the Marlins.
Easy.
I hope we don't see some blowouts this week. I mean, these games on the surface, some of them look like blowouts, but you dig in a little bit deeper. Any given Sunday applications are in effect here. Saturday in this case, but yeah, we've got games at 1, Colts Bills. We got games at 4, Rams Seahawks. 8:15, we got the Bucks and the Washington football team. Then on Sunday, we got Ravens Titans, Bears Saints. And we got the Browns and the Steelers for the Sunday night game. So we got
final.
I think we got some fun stuff.
I mean, I think that might be the only game that might get away is Steelers Browns.
Steelers Browns.
I think the rest of them are going to be pretty competitive.
Yeah.
You think the Steelers are just going to run?
Well, I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to get from the Browns. I mean, the Browns are. I still kind of want to go for them because they're kind of have everything against them that makes you just say, yeah, maybe they're going to do something special. Roethlisberger's kind of just hot trash. I mean, the receivers can't catch the ball, so we'll see what happens.
Do you think they belong in the playoffs, the Steelers?
See, that's a good one because I really don't, because most of their wins came against terrible teams.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's an argument to be made for that. I think
and then they
do.
struggled out. I mean, they're good. They belong, but
I think they belong there. But I've heard some comments on that direction.
As trending, I would say
like,
no.
It's just like college football when they
I'd
talk
rather
about
see the
strength of schedule.
Chargers. I would rather see the Chargers in there than the Steelers, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have to agree with that. I think the Chargers got a little bit of a bad rap this time around.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that later. Right, Danny?
Oh, yeah, we're going to talk about that coach. I mean,
Yeah. I'm not sold on that decision. But we'll get to that.
All right, okay.
But right now, we're going to take a little bit of a break, guys.
All right. Well, thanks, Brando, for giving us all head lines of the week. We're going to call a timeout. Don't go anywhere, though, because when we return, I'm going to personally tell you how Big T Little Odd actually had a prediction come true.
What?
Sort of.
Okay,
You're going to want to hear this.
I know where you're going with this. It's almost 2 weeks in a row, too, wasn't it?
Oh, you're listening to the Ball Busters. Yeah, come on.
This song's about my mom and dad. You see, they had a bit of a problem. Between alcohol and crack cocaine, I know it was the 80s before.
You're listening to Ball Busters. Listening to Ball Busters.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you're back with the Ball Busters. We're going to talk a little bit to our special guest here, Coach Vass, host of the Make Defense Great Again podcast. In this world where everybody is obsessed with fantasy players and high-flying offense, I mean, come on, that's real football is won by running game and defensive. That's how you win championships. Who knows this better than Coach Vass? Am I right, Coach?
Yeah, especially on the road, my man. You got to need your defense and your kicking game.
You think that matters this year with no fans?
I think whether or not there's fans, I honestly think fans get overblown their impact on the game. I think it's not sleeping in your own bed, being in unfamiliar territory. I mean, yeah, you go to places multiple times a year, but it's not the same as being at home. And I think that stuff has more of an effect than just noise or fans, to be honest with you.
So going on what you just said, it's funny you said that. So Fred Stokes, who he played defensive end for the Redskins in the early 90s when they won the Super Bowl there, he was asked that question on Monsters in the Morning a couple months ago. We were watching that, and he was saying that as a player, he said most of the season he could understand where fans wouldn't have that big of an influence. He's like, but when we were in like RFK and we're playing against the Eagles or the Cowboys, he goes, and you got those fans in the crowd chanting defense and all that stuff. Then in a rivalry game like that, and he says, then I think, he said he thought in those sort of situations, fans would have made a big influence.
Well, he would know better than I would in that case. I mean, he was an all-pro NFL player, and I just feel, and maybe this is my influence in being in high school and in college, and not dealing with something like RFK. I mean, there are. Let me caveat that there are certain places to play. Like Arrowhead is really hard to play because you can't hear. In college, the Swamp is really hard to hear. But as a Miami Hurricane former grad and employee of their football team, I don't think there's anything in the stadium, in Dolphin Stadium, that makes it difficult to play in, related to the stadium, related to the fans. So,
well, Vass,
yeah, I could see where old RFK would be a problem.
Well, Vass, as a 12-19, I haven't looked at it lately, but at 12-19 of this year, home teams were 103, 103 wins, 103 losses, 1 draw. So it seemed like it was pretty neutral this year. A lot of times home field advantage really takes a precedent, and this year it seems like it kind of hasn't.
So then maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it is just based on the crowds. I don't know. I'm just going on with guys I've talked to over the years, and
it's probably different for everybody. I mean, it's the same thing as like you can interview every player on a roster at the end of a game, and everybody's going to have a completely different reason why that game went their way or why it didn't. You know?
It makes me wonder sometimes if Josh Allen will be so great next year when he has crowd noise and defenses, or he can't communicate as well. It makes me wonder about that sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he has gotten.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Mm-hmm. Some of these guys have gotten a break.
Yeah.
Where things might have been a little bit turned up.
Like Hibbert.
Yep.
Who knows what Hibbert's going to do next year? Sophomore year. And
Herbert?
Whatever.
Okay.
Tomato.
I think Hibbert is
My
a guy.
speech is terrible sometimes.
Well, I think some of it can be psychological too, in the sense that maybe it's not so much the mechanics of not being able to hear, but it also may be the psychology. I know, and nobody kick me off the podcast right now, but when you talk to the players in Europe that play soccer, that a lot of younger guys, they feel, have flourished quicker this year because when they make a mistake, they don't have the crowd freaking out on them. They actually think that some managers have saved their job because the pressure from the crowd isn't there, and they can go through their mistakes without, everybody gasping in exasperation after every little mistake. So maybe that's part of it. Maybe Allen's not worried about hearing boos and stuff because there's nobody to boo. I mean, except the general manager that's in the San Diego boo.
Yeah, I guess that works both ways.
I can hear that. I can relate to soccer real well, especially your EPL. And I kind of see that, but I still think, I don't know. I have a hard time with that. Would make a difference though in EPL. I agree with you.
EPL would be huge because you talk about what the home, if you're an away team going into an EPL game, I mean, it's nonstop.
Well, let's be honest though. You think the fans are just staying at home? They're probably right outside going nuts anyways.
Yeah, probably true.
I imagine, they're hooligans over there. Straight hooligans.
So we're talking to Coach Vass from the Make America. I'm sorry.
Oh, easy now. Oh, no.
I knew he was in the closet.
No. Terrible. That's almost as bad as taking my pants off at a gender reveal party.
Which
Did
you've
they
done a few
figure out
times.
what you were? Was anybody able to figure out what gender you were?
So we're talking to Coach Vass from the Make Defense Great Again podcast. And one thing that when I mentioned to the guys that you were coming on and they looked at your podcast and they saw all the names of the guests that you've had on, I'm just curious, so how did you make contact with these guys? Is it just being a defensive coordinator and having that as your main focus that you were able to get the guests that you've gotten on that show?
Make defenses great again?
So it became a snowball effect. So my first big guest, who I'm actually interviewing after this is over for my new offensive podcast coming out called Run Fast Option,